Kudash, 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 Adonai, Elohim, Sabaoth, meaning holy, 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 Lord of hosts. Yah-Heh-Vah-Heh, which is the four syllables which make up the Tetragrammaton, which is the sacred name of God as a collective whole and a collective consciousness. More than one entity. But we're going to break down Yah-Heh-Vah-Heh. First Yah is divine masculine, which signifies the Father who art in heaven, Abba, the architect of the universe. He signifies divine feminine, which is the mother who art in the earth, Mother Nature, the womb of the earth where mankind was created, molded, shaped, and formed, 360 degrees, circled, just like a woman's birth canal, you know. Va, sixth letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which also correlates with the book of Genesis, mankind being created on the sixth day, you know, us. That's why Genesis says, in the beginning, Elohim, which is plural, which means more than one, said, let us, keywords us, create them in our, more than one, image. That makes sense? Then the last He correlates with the first He, divine feminine, you know, Anna, which is the opposite of Abba, which is mother wisdom, knowledge, you know, spirits of the wind, spirits within the mother of nature, you know, which are, you know, they bring you knowledge, you know. Every day you wake up, you go through trial and error, you live, you learn, and you go through some things to know some things. So in the process of that, you gain wisdom. That makes sense. As above, so below. As within, so without, you know. Macro pro-surface above, the micro pro-surface below, because we are the microorganisms and the host of the Elohim. So let's get to it. All right, well, I'm just sitting here. It's like, what time is it? It's like 2 something in the morning. I'm sitting here. Well, I was just sitting there thinking. You know, I can't really sleep at night a lot of times. I'll be up. But I came across this book, and I was looking over it, and I came across a discovery. So this is how we're going to prove right now that we in the time that this Bible is actually talking about. Now, we're going to go to the book of Revelation, right? We're going to start off at Revelation chapter 6, verse 2. I'm going to jump right into it. Please forgive me. I done lost my voice. I had a long, very stressful weekend, you know, fighting demons as usual, but, you know, nothing I can't overcome because I'm definitely not going to be overtaken by them. But, you know, it's a spiritual war, so just got to keep going. Got to keep going just to keep knowing what you're up against. And the more you see those things start to transpire, you realize what time you're in too. And that's kind of where I'm going to get at right now. So when you see these things, you know, you might think you're in a weird time right now, the energy off, you know, things just seem a little chippy, shaky. Well, let's get to it. Like, straight like that. The book of Revelation, which means the book of revealing. This is where you get your word apocalypse from. Apocalypse means a great revealing. So let's reveal some things right now. Now, I'm going to be reading from the Holy Tablets. You know, Holy Tablets came from the Anunnaki creation story. Put it that way. You know, like I told y'all before, Anu. Anu means Most High. This is what Most High actually means. You say Anu. Elion, El. Because before you got the name Yahweh, it was El. Elion, you know. These are actually 2 names of God. Well, 3. This is a title, which means Most High, which correlates with Sky God, you know, the divine masculine energy above, you know, get what I'm saying? But, you know, then you got El, for Elohim, Elion. Now, this goes into an attribute, you know, because that's what's the original name. Before Yah-Heh-Vah-Heh came into the picture, it was El, Elion, you know? Yeah. A lot of people don't know that. But that was the original, you know, before Yah-Heh-Vah-Heh, which you get, you know, Yahuwah, is the English word Jehovah. Like I said before, Jah is the English word for Yah, and some people say Yahuwah, Yahweh, Yahweh, Jehovah, but those 4 syllables, they were never meant to be pronounced into a name. That's why they're syllables. People just made it into a name. You know what I'm saying? So let's get to it. Revelation 6, verse 2. And look, and behold, a white horse, and its rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he came out conquering and to conquer. 3. When he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature, celestial beings, the second living creature say, come, come, come. 4. And out came another horse, bright red. Its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth, so that people should slay one another. And he was giving a great sword. Watch this. Watch how I cook. 5. I ain't even gonna think about it, but just go. 5. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, come. And I looked, and behold, a black horse. Its rider had a pair of scales in his hand. Now, what are scales used for? To weigh something. What do you weigh something with? You weigh things in the balance. You weigh in duality now. Good and bad, 2 forces. Watch this, watch this. All right. I heard the third living creature say, come. And I looked, and behold, a black horse, and its rider had a pair of scales in his hand. 6. I heard what seemed to be a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures, saying, a quarter of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil in the wine. So these are basically spirits that's being released, because this is how the Great Tribulation kicks off. But when you go into the Holy Tablets, it's going to get in more great detail. But watch how it correlates with all the 7 seals and the 7 thunders. Watch this. That's why you got to dig deep a little bit. 7. When he opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature say, come. And look, and behold, a pale horse, and its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed. Hades correlates with the planet Pluto. Pluto was just in the atmosphere not too long ago, making its daily rounds. Put it that way. Pluto's always in the atmosphere. It's just far off, so they don't consider it as one of the 7 planets within our solar system, really. It used to be, implemented a lot, but Hades correlates with Shiloh, under the earth, inner earth. You probably heard the saying by now about these inner earth beings. They say that they Draco constellation. But I'm gonna tell you about that Draco constellation that deals with archons. Daros, Demonos. They low vibratorial, grotesque, dark energy, feed off of fear, and that's kind of like what's about to be released. But watch this. See, the Bible gives you this little pieces. They don't really give you the deepest meat and bones, but watch. You'll see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed him. And they were given authority over 1/4 of the earth to kill with sword, and with famine, and with pestilence, and with wild beasts of the earth. 9. When he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God and for the witness they had bore. 10. They cried out with a loud voice, O sovereign Lord, holy and true, how long before you will judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth? Deep. It's about to be avenged, though. I tell you that. Around the same time that your redemption draws nigh. I mean, it's drawing near. But in the process of this tribulation, it's some people's salvation and it's some people's destruction. Just put it that way. So while it seems like to be kind of bad, it's kind of good too. You know, that's how great resets happen. You know, what a lot of people see, religion, they'll instill fear into you. That's what it was not designed to do. They use this as a fear tactic. It was never meant to be feared, because what they tell people in the fear, they don't never really tell them that is part of their salvation and it's part of the plan. It's part of the things, the stage being set, for a chain of events. But these chain of events are eliminating, the parasites, put it that way. In 11, it says, they were each given a white robe and told to rest a little longer until the number of their fellow servants and their brethren should be complete, who were to be killed as they themselves had been. And you've seen this has been going on for almost 400 years now, You've seen it happen with Marcus Garvey. You've seen it happen with Malcolm X. You've seen it happen with Martin Luther King. Even though all of them had different belief systems, but when you the people, you the people. It don't matter what you call yourself. It don't matter what religion you follow. It matters your intention, that intention that comes from above. That's why that seal goes on the forehead, because it comes from the intention. That single eye that it talks about in the Bible, that's the eye of God. That's why your third eye deals with intuition and abilities beyond the physical realm, because that's how you tap into the eternal God within yourself that takes you to the God outside of yourself. If that makes any sense. When he opened the sixth seal, I looked, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth, and the full moon became like blood. Now, y'all ain't been seeing these blood moons lately? They call them pink moons, blood moons. But when the sun goes black, what's that normally mean? An eclipse. Let me tell you about eclipses all throughout ancient history. Every time an eclipse happened throughout the existence of mankind, a great doom followed. They were known as an omen of doom, because whenever the great eclipses happen, guess what? People start to get wiped out and die. Look at Roman times, about every emperor and how a lot of their deaths follow right after the eclipse. Look when the Messiah was hung up on the tree. Eclipse happened. The numbers don't lie. The events don't lie. I told you, people will lie, but consistencies and patterns don't die. But now, we're going to get into this book that's metaphors, allegories, parables, figurative language, and we're going to discern what it's actually talking about here, because we all seen this. And guess what? Each eclipse, total eclipse that just happened back to back, all happened 7 years. 2017, then April 8th, 2024. 7. 1 on the 17th. 1 and 7 makes 8. Guess what that is? You want to know what the number of Christ the Redeemer is? It's 8. I'm going to tell you something else. 2024. 2024. 2, 2, 4. And another 4. What does that make? 8. 2017, 17, 2, 4, 6. Or you could look at it that way. You could just take the last two numbers, 7 and 1. You get 7 and 1, you get 8. And then you can do 2 and 4, 6. Either way you look at it, 6 is the number of mankind in creation. 6th day, Va, 6th letter. So you got Christ the Redeemer is 8, and then you got 6 as Va, 6 days, mankind created. And then you got this return scenario. What is this return? You got to return back to yourself, because the Messiah told you in the latter time you will do the things in which he had and work even greater wonders. See, just as the Messiah was called the anointed one, it correlates with the elect ones, which are 144,000, if that makes sense, all activated with Christ consciousness. What do Christians say it is to be a Christian? What do they say? It's Christ-like. Well, what's the difference? What happens when you become Christ-like abilities? And they go online because they're dormant. But I'm going to tell you how these sun and all these other events is going to transpire and trigger this. So, it said earthquakes, the sun became black as sackcloth, the full moon became like blood, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth, and the fig tree shed its winter fruits when shaken by a gale. 14, the sky vanished like a scroll that is being rolled up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Then the kings of the earth, the great ones and generals, and the rich and the powerful, and everyone, slave and free, hid himself in the caves and amongst the rocks of the mountains. Now, what's the caves? The powerful ones. What would that be called today? Bunkers. Bunkers. The bunkers. Ain't Elon Musk and all the other rich people making bunkers right now? Didn't he say by 2024 he was trying to get a space hotel up there like the show 100 on Netflix and put something on Mars? And he said, but guess what? They can't go up there because guess what? It's a firmament. Outer space is actually inner space. You know? Just like they tell you the universe is out there, but the universe is inside of you. It's crazy. Yeah, this is illusion, you know, it's a matrix. It's all things, but it's all by design, you know. It gets deep, you know. It takes a lot more. You'll get it soon enough. If you meant to get it and you get that seal, it all makes sense to you. You'll probably just grab, if you ain't already following this channel, you're going to probably gravitate to it, you know, and the other ones like me. But, yeah, let's read that again. That's deep. It says, 15, then the kings of the earth and the great ones and generals and the rich and the powerful and everyone slave and free hid himself in the caves amongst the rocks and mountains. 16, calling to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us, hide us from the face of him that who sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath, their duality, more than one, has come, and who can stand? Now watch this. Chapter 7. 1. After this I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth, that no wind might blow on the earth, sea, or against any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the rising of the sun with the seal of the living God. And he called, this is Helios, light ray. Helios, son of righteousness. Watch this, watch this. Then I saw another angel ascending from the rising of the sun with the seal of the living God, called with a loud voice to the 4 angels who had been given power to harm the earth and the sea, saying, don't harm the earth or the sea or the trees until we have sealed the servants of our God, Elohim, plural, on their foreheads. Why on the forehead all of a sudden? Think about that. On the foreheads. And other people getting sealed on the hand. Why do they say this third eye lives in the forehead? You know this is part of your brain. It's called the Christos, just like Christ. It's called Christos, the Christos. It's actually a crystal in there. It's light. The single eye. The Bible tells you, practice the single eye and your whole being will fill with light. It's a crystal in there. Why you think people put these dots on their forehead? They put these symbols right here, whatever, because they know the duality of the eternal angels. They go in and out. They go in and out because They go through the universe. Because when this body shut down, guess what? You connect it back to the all. You in the all. The all is in you. You know? You are part of the all, if that makes sense. It said, saying, do not harm the earth and the sea and the trees until we have sealed the servants of God on their forehead. And I heard the number of the sealed, 144,000 sealed from every tribe of the sons of Israel, Yasharallah. Now, and then it goes in to break down the 12,000 out of each of the 12 tribes. So, now, what we just read. Now we're going to go into the seven thunders. Holy tablets, seven thunders. You know, a lot of the stuff I had to write down a long time ago, you know, just studying and studying and studying. All right. It says, the holy tablets, the seven thunders. Now, you've seen seven seals over here. This one is seven thunders. You get what I'm saying? All right. I love this part better because it's going to break down all of that part. It says names, Allahum. You know, a lot of other cultures, it's in the holy tablets, it says Allahum, which we know is Elohim. You know, but we're dealing with pronunciations here. You know what I'm saying? Or Niru, which will correlate with Netaru. You know, when you know where Netaru came from. That's where the original creation. They talk about Netaru in Egypt as known as in the ancient Egyptians, you know. The Netaru, the Allahum, the Anus. All one and the same. Just change in the name. What's the devil's job? Kill, steal, and destroy, divide, and conquer. Divide it up. Make everything separate so it's not whole again. And guess what? Make them fight over it. And make them just have just a little piece of this, a little piece of that. And, you know, only certain ones going to figure it out. Maybe it's just the ones with the seal on their forehead. Color green, heart chakra, and ether. Now watch what it say about this. Now watch this. First thunder, much starvation, sickness, starving, children, homelessness, and disease. This already passed, and it continues. You know, we've seen what happened in 2019. Take that word, COVID, turn it backwards. Guess what it's called? Davat. Guess what that means in Hebrew? Demon possession. Now back to this. See how it says starvation? Now guess what? Where we just read this over here when it tells about this famine. It also talks about that in Matthew 24 as well. You know, let me do my scan. Spirit church is better. I'm not even on the right page. I'm tripping. It talks about living creatures, open seal. Bring the plagues. Each angel sent out fifth sword, altars, the third, the fourth, cried creature, death. 80. Oh yeah, it says number 8 of chapter 6 of Revelations. It says, and I heard what seems to be a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures saying, a quarter of wheat for denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for denarius, and do not harm the oils and the wine. And then it says, Yeah, it was number 8. And looked, and behold, a pale horse, and its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed. And they were given authority over the fourth of the earth to kill with sword, with famine, and with pestilence, and by wild beasts of the earth. You go watch my video on the 10 plagues of the apocalypse of Abraham and watch how all of these correlate with each other. 7 thunders, 7 seals, and 10 plagues of Abraham, and that later time when the redemption was going to be coming for his children that he was told about in the beginning, that the number of his descendants would be just as the grains of the sea and greater. The grains of the sands of the sea were greater, more the stars in heaven. Second, the thunder. The sky becomes sick with holes in it that look like sores. Lung disease spreads. Breathing problems occur. Green mist coming from holes, polluting waters, growing deformities, bacteria in the water. You see what's going on with the water crisis right now. Little devils, sea animals begin to die. Fishes are trying to get out the water. You see all these dead animals and fishes and birds falling out the sky, and all these fish just popping up on shore all dead all of a sudden, coincidentally. So you know what's being already been released. It's already in the process, in the making. So don't be surprised what you're getting right now. I'm just going to prove it even more. That's why I like the 7 thunders story of it. Water becomes death to them. Physical and spiritual illness, mutations in animals. All right, now let's break this down. The sky becomes sick with holes in it. Right now, we're in the active sun cycle. There are sunspots on the sun. They're called solar flares, also known as CMEs, called coronal mass ejection. They are sending ether plasma down to the earth. But we all know if we live in a firmament in a dome, we know that this dome, certain things are starting to crack. Stuff is coming through. The portal's been open after those eclipses took place. You get what I'm saying? That's when, even if the time of the eclipse, y'all ain't see the things that was flying around in the sky that day? Did y'all see it? They was everywhere. Multiple people caught it on different videos, different angles, and different places. So it should just show you. That was the sign. That was one of the main signs, them eclipses, both of them. One was the start of something. The other one was the finish. All right, now it's coming, And you see when it said, the angel that came out the rising of the sun. The sun is the key part in all of this. This is when the global warming and all the poles shift. But 2, it's like I said. Now, number 3, the third thunder. Many new species, notations in animals, crossbreeding in species, death of frogs, honeybees, turtles, deformed, human, multiply. And that's the key part right here. Genetic splicing and cloning. Genetic splicing and cloning. How are you thinking you are getting your genetically modified organisms known as GMOs? Because they're taking stem cells from other creatures and they're growing them in labs. That's what you call genetic splicing and cloning. So you're duplicating something because you're having a shortage on it. That's why it's not really an active famine yet, but it really is, because guess what? There's sickness and death that comes with that because it's not being born natural from the earth, if that makes any sense to y'all. They have to genetically splice stuff. They're trying to clone other living organisms to multiply them on the face of the earth, like God told the humans to, but they weren't the ones that were meant to do that. We were supposed to have dominion over the animals, not to create a new species of them or make them out of their natural norm. Everything that's not natural, you see what people are doing it. You get what I'm saying? Let's keep going. The fourth thunder. Signs of twins. Yah and Wei. One guards the South Pole. The other guards the North Pole. Havoc begins when these pole structures break down. Remember I told y'all about the active pole shift? When the poles shift, the roles shift, And I told you about this planet. It's called Nibiru. Some people call it Planet 9. Some people call it Planet X. Some people call it Neteru, But that's where the original story of Elohim came from. So, you know that's where the original story of Elohim came from. So What a coincidence when the poles shift. But they said that whenever Nibiru passes through our solar system, it causes the magnetic poles to shift. That's when you see some parts of water, they start evaporating like the Euphrates. Some places the sea level rise, just like off the coast of Florida right now. You're seeing the water turn to red, which would be like blood, but they're calling it red tide. You see how they get you with these names? But they all actively in circulation right now as I'm speaking. It's very interesting. The poles are actually shifting. Ice is melting in Antarctica. They saying it's because the ice is melting off because the sun being in solar maximum and heating up is causing it to melt more. Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe that is the case. And that's causing the sea levels to rise. But you see that we have an active water crisis all over America. It's beyond Flint, Michigan, and all these other places. Nobody's drinking this tap water. If you're drinking this sink faucet water, pour some in your glass right now and look at all the floaties that's just floating around in it. Come on, let's be real. They ain't even giving enough spring water out no more. They literally, most of the shelves is filled with purified water. It ain't even all spring water. You get a spring water here or there, but it's more purified water in circulation than spring water. And purified water it's good to an extent, but if anything, you want alkaline water or that natural spring water, because a lot of these metaphysical rituals that it tells you in these sacred books, it tells you got to use like natural spring water. You can't even use no regular faucet water anyway. You want some real holy water and you want to consecrate it and sprinkle it on somebody or heal somebody with it. It ain't coming from that sink right there. I'll tell you that much. It says Yah. It says fourth thunder, signs of twins, Yah and Wei. One guards the South Pole, the other guards the North Pole. Havoc begins with these pole structures break down. Religion, morals, and financial. Now look, religion, morals. You see, everybody's waking up to a higher consciousness because we were never supposed to be in religion. Religion is actually the traditions of men because they create a structure around some knowledge to safeguard it and tell you how you're supposed to be, how you're not supposed to be. But same people will tell you that the law of God is done away with. Don't follow it. Just bless everything in Jesus' name, which ain't even his name to begin with. You calling him upon another name when they tell you right in the book of the Bible, in the Old Testament, my name will never change throughout the generations and you keep my remembrance. Okay? See how Satan deceived the whole world? But, religion, traditions of men, they tell you, like churches will tell you, come as you are. But same things that'll tell you it's an abomination for in the laws of Moses, they say just come open arms. Leviticus 11 say thou shalt not eat swine, but they say just bless it in Jesus' name. It's good. It's good now. It's good. Sorry, I'm dead serious though, but this is what we up against. Like, how's people even still in that trance? But it is what it is. Everything ain't for everybody, But if you hear it, then it's for you. But break down. It says when these pole structures break down, religion, morals, and financial. Well, as you see, the economy is collapsing. We know that the American dollar is not backed by any gold or silver. You know that the other countries, the nations forming against them, they started their own currency called the BRICS currency. With China, Russia, I think Korea part of it. Was it Iran, India? A lot of them, they all part of it because they know the dollar crashing and it ain't worth the paper that it's printed on anymore. And it's just like, it has no value. That's why our debt ratio is so high, because they're printing money out of thin air. Thin air. It ain't backed by nothing. It's only backed by debt and people owing favors on it. That's all it's backed by. No real value. But it's collapsing. And you see what the active chief of the country is doing? Y'all can't get mad at him. He was put in that position to fulfill a prophecy, believe it or not. I don't know if he know it or anybody else knows it, but just look at the stage, how it's being set perfectly, Mr. Trump is not a coincidence. He's there for a reason, You know, you gotta let him work his magic. Whether he's self-destructed, but that's the way it was supposed to go down. Put it that way. Because there's other events. It's a chain of events that's happening in the process of all of this. You know, all the spiritual believers not seeing it. Y'all worrying about a failing system collapse that ain't never did ish for you, and it was never for you to begin with. You know, that's why it's called the beast, the system of the beast, devoured. How you working all your life, never at peace, always got to pay something, pay bills on stuff that God put here free for you. Think about that. You got to pay for electricity when they had a wireless energy back in the day, ether towers, that you can just get your own free energy right out the ground with copper and mercury. You know what I'm saying? You know, you got waters that coming off natural springs and rivers, but you can't even go fishing without a license. Come on now. Jesus ain't had to have a license to go fishing, did he? Or what y'all call Jesus, who y'all call Jesus, or the Messiah, you know. But this is for just the people that not on the level of the people that always come to this channel, you know. But think about that. You know, everything is wrong about this, you know. You got to pay for the water. You got a water bill. Seriously? But this is what we up against because it's a beast. The beast is going to control and devour. He's going to get what he wants. But, all right. And then it says, you see what's going on with the financial and all that. It says the devil wins. El Nino takes over. Now, you see when them storms, tropical storms be happening, you know why they always name the hurricanes these strange names? Really pay attention to the names that they be calling this thing. Now, look up, I'm not even going to break it down. Look up El Nino. Look it up. Look it up. 4 winds and angels being released from the 4 corners of the globe. Interesting, right? 5th, thunder. 4 great people will perish. Floods. We're seeing that everywhere. Landslides. It says floods, lightning storms. You see these lightning storms. You see in some places people, when these lightning storms go off, they seeing these big beings and tall creatures standing behind the lightning. You wonder why? Don't think those videos is fake. They ain't put AI out for nothing at this time because it was designed by the devil so you won't know what's real and fake in this time. That's why this book of Revelation right here, it says in that day, they will suffer strong delusions. You don't know what's real or fake no more. AI came right at the perfect time for that. Because when everything being released and the veil is being broken, somebody catch it right on video. I'm like, that's fake. It's fake. A lot of it's fake. Anybody with a spiritual eye can see what's fake. You know, the animals in these little videos they doing. Like, you're like, dang, the person in the video done changed like 5 times and the animal don't even look the same. But, like, you know when it's fake. But you know when it's real. Somebody took that joint right off their phone and they did lightning cracking, and then you seeing a being in the sky, tall being, like the thing off of Stranger Things, sitting in there in the thunder, just walking past. You seeing these beings coming out, walking on the clouds. They ain't really walking on the clouds, it's because they can levitate, you know? They are terrestrial creatures. That's why I talk about this book, the living creatures. It didn't say angels, then it got the angels. It said the creatures first, and then it started talking about the angels. You get what I'm saying? So, oh yeah. There's spirits around me right now. That's why I can see them. You know, I see them every day. Maybe it's one that's probably making me do this video. But they don't bother me. I actually like them. You know, they gotta come show love here and there. You know, it's one thing you just see something from the glance of your eye once, but you see it from every angle coming. And then you keep it to yourself, and then you tell somebody else in the house, and they said they seen the same thing. And then another person said they seen the same thing. I was like, all right, I ain't tripping. Now it's a consistency and pattern. So I'm not tripping. There's an energy and a presence amongst us. But it's not, you know, diabolical. It's not grotesque energy. It's a very calm one. But there's also other spirits that play too. Once you become activated on a certain level of comprehension, you're going to get attacked from every angle. But once you get to that mellow and balancing point, you know, it's not nothing they can really do. Say, me, I'm speaking things into existence every day. I don't pray like regular people. I actually do the rituals, the real rituals. How do you really supposed to do these things? You know, I don't play with it. You know, it took me a while to get to that stage, but you know, I know how to put my hands in the right mudras. You know, from this is the protection mudra. This right here is personal confidence mudra. This right here is, you know, the I will, I am, you know, speaking into existent mudra. This is how you really pray in these hand frequencies. You never pray like this. Your hands have power in the palms, you know. So don't close your blessing. You know, you speak into it. When you pray, you speak into these hands. You speak into all the dormant parts of you to activate and come alive. You know what I'm saying? It's a big difference, you know. Because guess what? You control all of them, believe it or not. You control them. You got given dominion over them. Little do you know. Nothing demonic can really harm you unless you open the door and give it consent. Don't leave no welcome mat at your door. Take that joint away. Get it out of here. You know, and don't feed into all the dark energy because you welcome it. And don't start overthinking, getting paranoid and anxiety, because guess what? Now you basically open the door for the entity to come in, because you think something long enough, it starts to manifest, you know. That's how it works. It works both ways, like duality, good and bad. So, fifth seal, you see 4 great people will perish, floods, lightning storms. These are the electrical charged particles coming from the solar storms, the solar activity that's going on right now. You got the tornadoes. You see the tornadoes been ripping through the south and all those dry lands down there. You know, it's coming from the south first because that's where a lot of the ideology, you know, a lot of the prisoners of war, which they call slaves, were going through, and they shed a lot of blood on the land in the south and torture. So, you know, you see Mother Nature ripping through them first, you know. That's why it's always, you see a lot of things hitting the south first, because it goes up and down the ley lines. So wherever the ley lines pass through, and just like the eclipse pass through the ley lines, you know, that's where you'll see these natural disasters start to take place at. How do I know? Who am I? Consistencies and patterns. I see everything. Now listen, the floods. Y'all know about floods. Just turn on your news, go on your YouTube channel. You'll see them everywhere. Lightning storms. These ain't normal lightning storms. That's what it means in the 10 plagues of Abraham, when lightning voices coming out the sky. Tornadoes, landslides, hurricanes, hail in the summer. That's already been happening. Now, the key one, this correlates with the 10 plagues of Abraham. Hail in the summer, forest fires, children killing children. What you see right now. You see it all over Chicago, all over the country, everywhere. Mass school shootings. This is actually happening. Children killing children, because it also talks about that after the book of Deuteronomy, when it says the curses will come upon these certain people. They said their children will run like wild bulls in the street. So, just so you know, I'm not making this up, but you see this right now happening actively. It's been happening. It says children killing their parents, rampant insanity and murders, and an upsurge in drug addiction, and demonic revivals parading themselves as righteous. El Nino. This one ain't El Nino. It says little girl. So it's talking about a divine feminine energy. The first one was El Nino. That was a masculine energy, which we read in the fourth thunder. This one says El Nino, and it says little girl will come. Will come. I can't tell you exactly fully what that means, but I'm pretty sure you get an idea. Look how many times something was referred to as a her throughout the Bible. Get my drift? Sixth thunder. Changes occur. The star people return. Why you think you're seeing all of these, what they call them, UAPs now? Or what they used to call UFOs? Because it's celestial beings that's connected to you. Guess what? A lot of people don't know the Anunnaki story. These are actually, Anu, the Anunnaki is the story of the Elohim, because they're not like the other creatures, you know. They're actually look just like you. They have woolly hair and skin of bronze. They're called nine ether because they're etherans. They can move through light and time. Like, they have like light bodies, but they can manifest into a solid body as well, you know. once they come out them ships, or, you know, some people know them as Merkabas, some people call them chariots, you know, that's why when you see them lights going around it, that's actually plasma energy. You know, just like the plasma in your DNA, those ships are fueled by actual plasma. Same thing that fuels and runs your body, if that makes any sense to you. Many is called, few is chosen. Everybody's not going to get it. I get it, though. Maybe that's why I was connected to all them things all my life. Like it says, the changes occur. These changes are occurring because it's active like a solar flash. It's an ascension. That's why all the genetic splicing is going on, because that's to keep your vibration lower. So when this new wave of energy coming, it's like now everybody's getting sick. They can't sleep. They up all night. You know, they feel awkward. They start getting all these overwhelming anxiety thoughts right now because it's creeping in. You know, it's like, you know how like you getting sick or disease or something, your body got to immune to it and get adjust to it for you to feel better. That makes any sense? You know, like that's what happens when a reset happens. It's a new wave of energy. Your body's trying to catch up and adjust to it, like Bluetooth. You know, you're trying to connect to the signal now. So, you know, you kind of like, your equilibrium is off right now. But, you know, if you prepared yourself for this, you know, you'll be smiling like me right now. Because it's like, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. So now, it's one thing you see these symptoms in certain 1-2 people, but I'm seeing them in everybody. I ain't gonna say I didn't feel them too, you know. But that's why I felt them. I still feel them, you know. But you gotta absorb that energy. You gotta channel that, you know, in the right way, and you'll see your body gonna start changing. You're gonna start feeling stronger. You're gonna start getting more energy, because melanin is a natural absorber of the sun. I'm sorry to the people that don't want to believe that, but it really is, you know, because the original person on the planet was of the melanin, you know. And ether, you know, etherans, you know, Etherians. I know y'all heard about Etherians. Some of y'all did. There's a spirit right here next to me. I can't see it fully, but I see the gloss and the silhouette. It's standing there. Like it's right there. It came past my eye and gloss. When they come right in front of you, you can't see. Your eyes will blur up, but you see their presence move right through you, around. This one just keeps lingering right here. But it never really gets this close to me. It normally just stay like at a distance somewhere. And I know it's there because it'll just keep shadowing past over and over when nothing's moving, reflecting. And you'll see it. It'll come close enough to you to your eyes gloss, and you'll know when it's there. You know, if you know how to follow patterns the way I do, you'll be able to connect with these spirits, or, you know, identify them, or, you know, I don't know exactly which spirit this one is, but, you know, I ain't gonna say that they all are good neither, but most of them are, you know. They ain't over in here opening cabinets, knocking stuff over, but they do make themselves known and present, you know, all the time. A lot of people see these things all the time. Y'all just be ignoring them, but they there. They always been there. They live in a realm within a realm. You get what I'm saying? Some of them just trapped in this simulation too. Some of them really refuse to transcend, and some of them just have a strong connection to, you know, this plane. Some of them, like I was did in the video the other day, I told you it's elemental spirits as well. So they're right in the element, the ether, the air you're breathing in. They're right there. You know. So if you do call them spirit, I'll tell you a simple way you do that. You know, just be like, my ancestors, my guardians, you know, or my spiritual guides, you know, all those that mean me well, all those that wish for me to prevail and succeed and keep going forward, that are here to help me. You welcome them in. Then they're coming. They're gonna come. Watch I guarantee you do that. Watch your ideas just shoot up, you know, because that's how they do. They're gonna work through your like intelligence. You're gonna start getting these crazy ideas out of nowhere. You're gonna start feeling, you know. Because you have to welcome them in, you know. That's when they can come. And at the same time as you doing that, you want to tell all the bad spirits that don't mean you well, of harm, low vibrational energy, or they kill, steal, and destroy. You want to tell them to flee. And even if when you cleanse your house or you walk around with that sage, you're speaking into that sage, that ether, and you tell them to flee. You're not welcome here. You're not welcome here. You're not welcome here, because they can't come here without your consent. Okay? It says the sixth one, it says changes will occur, the star people will return, signs in the skies, new planets. Remember I told you in the Nibiru. In the book of Revelation, it's called Wormwood. That's when it says it casts a third of the stars to the earth, because you got all these magnetic fields changing. That's why you're seeing these planes fall out the sky. That's on these electrical grids because of this energy. It says signs in the skies, new planets, new galaxies, meteorites, storms, climates, alternations, global warming, spiritual revivals, presence of divine. The presence of divine is here. It says disregard and disrespect for present world governments, leadership, and politics. Because as they crumble and collapsing, nobody's going to listen to them no more. They're going to all self-destruct by the edge of the sword. Mark my words. Process of elimination. So if it tell you 2/3 is going to get wiped out, and 2/3 is going to get wiped out, but it's going to be a process of elimination of people's own self-destructive behaviors, And then it already tell you the children is already killing each other. But these is all children that's in the wicked stuff, Somebody that ain't guide them right, or they ain't got the right guidance, but, now they in survival mode. I got to survive here, so I got to be on demon time because I got to get him before he get me. But you see that cycle never change. It's a process of elimination. That's how it all works. They can tell you in the book of, the end of Deuteronomy, after it breaks down all the curses, it goes in, I think it's the next page, it tells you about the children in that time will run like wild bulls in the streets, out of control. Point blank period. That's what we're seeing now. So, everybody's whining about these things happening. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but there's a bigger thing at play here. And why it says those that endure to the end will see. They will get these great blessings. And when it tells you about these new galaxies and planets, I always say as above, so below, as within, so without. I always tell you about the 7 planetary bodies that correlate with the 7 Alolas and the 7 chakras in the body. So when something aligns above, it has an effect on the human organism, the micro prosophis below. And literally, when the new galaxies collide, that means that dimensions are colliding. So that means that the same things that were above, now you got new force fields that are going to work on your body. This is why you're getting all discombobulated right now, because you got to adjust to them, because the DNA is going to activate, That's why they want all y'all plasma, because everybody that's selling that plasma to them, they probably doing all types of rituals on you, on your energy, your life essence, probably feeding them to the archons and drinking your blood, like it tell you it's forbidden in the book of the laws. I think it's in the book of Leviticus as well. That's why they're doing it, because they take your vitality, they take your youth, your collagen. They use it in these facial medicines when they be doing these facials. And, these old people looking all young forever because they stealing other people's vitality to keep them alive. And people willingly sell it to them, and they don't even realize what's going on. Why would you sell your life force energy, Something that is your life force energy, your ether, to them? Yeah, it might seem like a lot of money. They pay you $100, this, and that at a time. Before they didn't even pay that much, but now they paying top dollar for it right now. They said that they use that plasma in medicines. No, the elite buying that plasma for them for probably 50 times as much as they paid you for it. Yeah. That's what them people do. They trying to stay young forever. They building their bunkers, getting ready to run. But that's why you gotta be careful. Your blood is not nothing you want to play with or you want to be giving up. They tell you it's going to save a life. Yeah, that's the biggest mass deception on the planet. Some of the blood does. They paying people, they ain't even testing the blood. They don't care if you got disease, you got some underlying condition, sickness, nothing. They just like, we want that blood. Because at the end of the day, they're going to filter the blood out. It's not really the blood, it's the plasma that's in the blood. So they just extracting that. But like, people be high as hell, go to them plasma banks and donate their blood. They don't give a damn. Them people want that blood so bad they don't give a fuck what's in that blood. Excuse my language. They don't give a fuck what's in that blood. Somebody's still gonna drink it. Somebody's still gonna take somebody else's life force energy. And they hoping it's one of the chosen seeds' blood because, whoo, imagine what you could do when you got some golden blood. You know? That's why I even tell you, when it tells you about this genetic splicing and this energy exchange, that's what the Bible means by they will poison my elect, but they will not die. So there's going to be forces used against us, but we environment so high that it don't affect us like it affect other people. If that makes any sense. You know? And not to say that they won't actually physically poison you, because they're poisoning everything. Everything is being poisoned. The air is being poisoned. Your food is being poisoned. The preservatives, everything is being poisoned, you know? But, you know, like I told y'all, universal law, galactic law, they have to tell you, just like a pack of cigarettes. You know, they tell you that it may cause cancer, may be harmful, do this, and that, because in order for them to not get galactic karma for certain things, they have to put it in the public domain, just like they put a lot of stuff in these movies. So if they tell you something will cause this, you still have the decision under your free will if you're going to buy it or not buy it or not take it, you know? So, you know, that's kind of relief to them. So now in the Revelations and Apocalypse, you're seeing a great revealing. You're seeing a lot of things come out. Even when they do these commercials and tell you about these medicines that meant to help you, then they start talking real fast at the end. Who would do some diabolical stuff like that? Might cause dizziness, side effects, bloating, bleeding out the heart. Like, damn, it got more side effects than what I already got, why I need to take it for. But you see they do it. Like, if you was really trying to warn me, why was you saying this shit so fast for? Like, they diabolical with it, but they still put it out there. So it's like, yeah, they trying to save their own ass in so many ways. You know, so, yeah, pay attention. These are the signs of the time, you know. Bloatedness, dizziness, headache, vomiting, death. Like, it's just, I'll be like looking like, okay. Interesting. But it's here. Global warning, revivals, presence of divine. See, there's a divine energy upon us right now. That's why a lot of us are activating more and more and more. But there's also another energy that's upon us. It's like a war. You know, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but principalities, rulers of darkness, and high and wicked places, you know. So, yeah, the Bible is a very good book, you know, but they ain't translate everything in there right, though, I'll tell you that much. They put enough in here. The rest, you just got to figure it out yourself. So it is a very, you know, this is a key book, you know. It is very powerful. It has a little bit of it all in there, but the information they didn't tell you, you know, somebody else decoded it in another way. So it says, seventh thunder, the end of the world as you know it. Because just like it says in Matthew 24, how will you know the signs of thy second coming? You will hear of wars, rumors of wars, nations rising against nation, famines, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places. So, and in that book, it tells you it's the end of the age, the end of an age. So if it's a reset, that means out with the old and with the new. Out with the old energy, the grotesque energy, the low vibratorial energy, the veil that's keeping you contained and not letting your energy flourish, prosper, and move freely the way it's supposed to. You know, just like, you know, put it this way. You see how Superman had to sleep in a chamber full of crystals to help him cellular generate? See how it tells you about the archetype of the New Jerusalem, the heaven? You see how it's made of gold. Gold makes your body stay young longer when you put gold near your body. The crystals help your body cellular regenerate. You have 1,000-year millennial reign, you know. So it's like right now we kind of like under a spell, and like all the hot spots of the earth where the energy, like the tree of life was, you know, like I believe it's in the North Pole when you see these giant tree structures and they chop them down, and or other parts like Antarctica where shit is frozen up at, you know. That's like there's things under there, you know, things that reactivate the planet, but they're frozen. Some of them are chopped down. There's so many different things. That's why you have ley lines and energy grids. You go to certain sites, you'll feel different energy. It's like the rods. You know, you got negative and positive spots in your house, anywhere you go, outside. You can feel them. Once you get into them, you'll feel different energy. You just got to pay attention and really feel. And get out your head a little bit. Just feel your way through. You know, what's real you can feel, what's fake you can't relate. We had an hour now, but I'm going to get the whole message out. I'm at Seventh Thunder now. It says, Seventh Thunder, the end of the world as you know it, the year 2030, Gregorian calendar. That's interesting. Because a lot of people said it was things going to happen in 2024. Some people saying it's 2029. Some people got 30 because the calendars are all different. But it's within the span of now and then that you're going to see all these events transpire in full throttle. They already started. That's why I said, like on the first one, it says, the first thunder, much starvation, which is a famine, food shortages. You know, that's why they started making genetic foods and prepping you and lowering you with that. So when the solar flash happened, you won't cellular regenerate. The highest flare of a solar flare is the X flare, and that's where you get the mutated gene in the 90 for being. That's why you got X-Men, you know, mutants. Why you think they call the X-Men mutants? Because they're mutations because the X chromosome was unlocked. You get what I'm saying? X flare, sun flare, solar flash, run the bunkers, hide us from the face of him that's coming from up the son of righteousness. That's why it says them too, you know. God is considered the all, you know, but the lamb, the lamb in their wrath, it says their wrath, because the lamb, that the Christ conscious energy, you know, that comes from the sun. That's why the original Bibles would say Helios, Biblios, light ray, Biblios, book. European word for the Bible means the book. The Bible means the book, but it really was talking about sun, astrology, and all these other things, you know. Because the sun activates your eternal, your solar plex, you know. That's why whenever you see a picture of a Messiah, whether it be, you know, whatever Messiah image they want to portray it at, you'll see a sun. Some of them you'll see a candle sitting in the chest or above the head, or you'll see the halo because the energy that hits the pineal gland, the crystals. All right, I'm out, y'all. Love y'all. Good night.